All right, here we are again. So hopefully you can hear me. And welcome to the stream. Plan for today is something really cool, which I've done in the past as a concept, but now I'm actually going to do it for myself, which is taking some really nice aesthetic images and turning them into some dope mockups. And yeah, that's how we're going to do it. So I hope you all are having a pleasant evening, morning, midday, and let's hop into it. Right. First step, obviously, finding some nice images. So I have Pinterest, Cosmos, and everything in between to find some really cool stuff. Aesthetic direction today is going to be similar to the last time I did this. Just so you recall, what I'm actually talking about here is this kind of stuff. So taking like real images that also already have branding, not like default mockups, and then turning them into my own version with my own branding, which I think is really cool. For instance, this, like replacing the checkered flag with the stars and stuff like that, that isn't just a drop-in mockup. And yeah, let's hop in. I really lately have a thing going on for these kind of helmets. Like, they just have such an aesthetic aspect to them. And stuff like this especially, you have so much text that you can swap out and like replace with custom branding, which is just exactly what we need. Actually, this image might be perfect just to start off because there's so much you can do. It doesn't look too difficult. See if you can find a high resolution version of this. Well, I guess perfect timing then, right? Oh, there it is. Seems to be a decent resolution. Just can head over to Photoshop. Oh, maybe it's not a decent resolution, but it doesn't really matter if these grunge images, you can always add some grain. And it's actually a bit easier to do this kind of mockup if the image isn't perfect quality. Let's see what will work here. Yeah, I guess we can ditch the Pirelli. So now, first step with the new Photoshop features is really easy. Just removing anything that you want to replace. And since we have generative fill, it's not going to be a problem. Start up by just roughly tracing this in. We can go in and remove anything we don't need. Backpack mockup. Sure, we can do that next. Like, the thing with this kind of mockup is any picture will work, really. If you have a bit of Photoshop skills, you don't need any default mockups. And I also find that like cliche mockups take away from the brand rather than adding to it. So either like extremely simple, like just product mockups, or this type of mockup. Obviously it's a bit more time consuming, but it's also a great way to increase your Photoshop skills. Because you're basically just trying to copy an effect directly from a reference. Which, yeah, that's the way to do it. Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, but some people are like completely designing in Photoshop. Like most of these poster design guys on YouTube, sorry, Instagram, like if they ever post a process video, they do everything in Photoshop. And I'm just thinking, you're doing complex typography work in Photoshop must be such a pain. But it seems it works for some people. So let's see if generative fill knows what I want here. Okay. Suppose this is our best option. Can always go in again with the clone and stamp tool here. Guess we can merge these first. Actually, before we do that, we need a copy. So now we have a blank slate up there. We need to do the same thing down here. I mean, obviously the dream would be to have pictures like this. Oh, what's this? That's not good. That are like genuine and real, where your branding is actually on stuff like this, and you could just, that's the ultimate flex, right? I feel like that's also like the tactics that Stussy and 2Js and all these other brands use. So they just put their branding on the dopest stuff and kind of reap the aesthetic reward from being associated with that. I mean, Marlboro is so deep in the racing sport, like the classic Marlboro livery. I mean, man, that is just beautiful. I mean, the branding as is isn't really special, but because it's associated with all that stuff, it just immediately has a bit of a factor. So we keep doing this kind of stuff here, removing. Gonna smooth this out a bit until we have like something kind of a clean slate. You don't have to remove everything, like stuff like this, you can't even read it as is. But, I mean, the more you have crammed in there, the more realistic it'll look. And also the cooler, I guess. So we got 11 people watching right now. That is pretty good. Oh my goodness, I'm tired. Let's get rid of that. Yikes. It's really struggling with this one. Guess we can just stack them. YouTube thumbnail is good, thanks. Yeah, I whipped that one up just before the stream. I'm trying to get something decent. Perfect. I don't know how much we lost. You can see. No, we didn't lose any details, so that's good. And I think that's pretty much everything we have to remove. Decent. Now comes the fun part. we can kind of decide what we want to replace this with. Just to see what we're working with as the original. We got kind of like a block serif type up here. I mean, you can stick with the original branding, I guess, like the original aesthetic, to make it kind of look more authentic. Which I think is what I'm gonna do mostly. But I don't know. We'll see. I guess I'll just start off with this. I think I can use the same font I used for the Marlboro one. Question is, what are we gonna put up there? It's a 3-word line. REZTOKIA Racing. Yeah. Maybe I'll use a different font. Never go wrong with times. Might even be times. You can add a stroke. REZTOKIA Race Club. That's actually better. You mean size-wise? Right. She might reduce the stroke a bit. Nope. Yeah, that'll do. Now you can just copy this out of Illustrator and directly paste it as a smart object into Photoshop. Now just to see what's going on, you can make a solid color. With the same text color as the one we're trying to match. Clip that. There we go. Now we're kind of bolder, so what I actually might do is go back to our smart object and just remove the stroke entirely. Have this update. There we go. "13 people. Hello, everybody." Oh, that's not what we want to do. So now I actually want to re-smart object your smart object when you're importing from Illustrator, so you can skew it exactly how you need it. Might not even need to do any skewing at all. Fits pretty good. Fits perfectly. Now obviously this is just the first step. The most important thing is matching the texture. And right here it's actually fairly easy. What we need is like a bit of grain, and then we blur that out. Actually, we might just need color noise. So we can add some noise. No, that's wrong. This is what we need. I'm gonna set this one. I'm gonna turn this into a smart object again. And we can add some color noise. And because we're working at such a high resolution, what I'm going to do first is scale this down a lot. And then I'm going to add the noise. Hit OK. I'm gonna rasterize this layer. Where is it? I really should have keyboard shortcuts for all this stuff. Oh my goodness. Might be enough to convert it to a smart object, that way we don't lose any of these settings. Now it's ridiculously big, but that's fine. That should be right. Now we already have that noisy thing going. Obviously it's a bit too colorful. So we're going to add a new solid color, same color. Put it to color, dial the opacity a bit. And then we're going to take this. I'm just going to blur it a tiny bit. Thumbnail so good, I have to join the live stream. Yeah, thanks. Looks like I did my job. And now we blur that, and look at that, we're already looking fairly similar. I think we need to be a bit warmer and a bit darker. And we also kind of have like a warm outer glow. So I'm going to go into the layer styles, outer glow, make it like a warm dark brown, maybe not as saturated. Obviously this looks like shit, so let's just set that to normal, no noise. And let's make that a bit more green, a bit darker. And boost the size. Okay, let's see. For some reason there's a lot of green in there in some places, but I think we might get away with not doing that. Kind of need to blur it again now. So let's take the whole package, reconvert to smart objects. I mean, you get the idea by now. Yeah, it has been a long time. I haven't streamed in probably a year or something. But I'm back, and better than ever. Let's add a blur. Not too much. And now I feel like we're too warm, so let's go back in here. Dial the saturation back. Save the smart object. That feels pretty good. We need more blur. And I'm overlaying these just so I can exactly match the texture. And then we can hide everything below it. You can see where we're at progress-wise. Need to scale this a bit. That's too much. Now right now this obviously still looks very fake. So let's see how the original differs. See how there's like this whole amount of grain behind this from the kind of artificial sharpening that's going on. And then we have the shadow from this top rim, which is affecting it also. Which are some changes that should be pretty easy to do. Just go into the blend if. Add some of the shadow back. Might actually be better to not do that with blend if, but to just take a curves layer, decrease the brightness. Then we're going to invert the mask. just select the area we want to target. Make that a selection. Then remove this. And now we're just targeting this. Now I can use my soft round pressure and opacity brush to remove the edge. Actually, I'm going to do this with a group. So I'm going to have that as a default. Then I'm going to group this, add a mask to the group. Yeah. That way I can directly target both of these. Use a hard round to get that. Perfect. That's already looking good. Let's compare that to the original. Okay, so we seem to have another discrepancy. This, first of all, is too much shadow. It just needs to be subtle. Also, we do not have enough grain. So if we go into this, and then we go into this, we have our add noise. We can crank that up. Okay, and I'm also gonna add a camera raw filter to this. And I'm gonna boost the grain. To add a bit more black and white roughness. Maybe I'll add another grain, another noise. Again, make it monochromatic. I'm gonna save through all these smart objects. And look at that, we have more texture. Also, I want to kind of adjust the color without a hue and saturation, boost the saturation, slightly boost the brightness. Yep. I'll increase our blur even more. Look at that. See, it's already looking fabulous. Even though it's not accurate to the picture, I think it will look more realistic if we increase the shadow. I'm actually going to do another sneaky technique. So I'm going to make a selection. I'm going to merge and duplicate the entire canvas by doing Ctrl-Shift-Alt-E. Use my mask from this area, and I'm going to take this and turn this into a smart object. And just to this area, actually before I do that, I'm going to add some feather to the mask. Decent amount. Well, maybe not that much, that'll do. And I'm going to convert this to a smart object. I'm going to add a camera raw filter just to this part of the area. We want to have some extreme sharpening. But it has to be low scale sharpening. So I'm going to take this and I need my scaling tool. Can scale it. And I'm just going to reduce it by 50%, so half size on both fronts. Now I'm going to add my camera raw filter. Now I can add the sharpening that we need. Some noise reduction. Might be able to push this even more by bumping the clarity. And see, that'll also give us these orange and red kind of fringes. So that's perfect. Hit OK. I'm going to convert this to a smart object again. And I'm going to scale it again. Nope. Now to 200%. And are back at our original positioning. And look at that. We've got our artificial sharpening. Just going to reduce that slightly. I don't even, I think, I know what you mean. Xtroid, is that your name? But I think the original, okay, I guess it kind of curves slightly. Well spotted there. Good thing I can just top that. So let's actually reduce this slightly. That so far is looking pretty good. I'm gonna take all of this, convert again to a smart object. Now I can edit, transform, warp. Holy shit. And slightly skew the bottom. Just gonna do that with this. Double click. This is good. Now I can bump that back up. There we go. Might be too much actually. Do it again. You just want to do this really subtly. That'll do it. And then also, I think the shadow is actually a bit too extreme. So I'll reduce that slightly. We're using a hard round, that's not good. That should be fine. Save that off. There we go, let's see. Yep, we're getting there. Wonder what happens if we take this entire thing. I guess it's fine. We don't want to be spending too much time on like each tiny little element, but I will increase this blur again. Might actually increase it on the layer below. Yep, that's better. Perfect. There it is. That's the first edition. So for anybody who's joining here, we're doing some photoshopping work. Now that I'm looking at it like this, I might need to actually add more warping. So I'm gonna do some sneaky tactics to get this smaller. Now I can warp it better, transform warp. We can really get this bowing going on here as well. Yes. Now we have the sharp corners, we don't want that. I guess it's fine. Perfect. Edition number 1. Next step. If we look at our default, we have the same thing again. John Player Special. So I think I'll also replace it with REZTOKIA Racing. But doing it across the edges like this might be a bit tricky. I have to have a lot of warping going on there. Interesting. I'm not sure if I want to do the exact same thing as the image here. Ralph11, I remember you. Well, you were in my last few streams as well, weren't you? Yeah, nice to see you here again. Okay. I think I'm gonna do something that's just centered, just for the sake of it, to make it easier. And since we already have all of this texture, I guess it's gonna be a bit different. Okay. I'm gonna do this way. Let's reduce that height. Take this. REZTOKIA Racing Club. We're even matching the font size, so that'll do. Smart object to smart object. And then we can start skewing this. I think that's good. Perfect. Solid color. Make sure that's the same color as the lower text. Clip it. And we're already halfway there. And I'm going to take this, convert this to a smart object. And I'm just going to do most of my stuff at a lower scale. I mean, I think I'm even going to go lower than 50%, like 40%, 40%, And I'm gonna add some mild noise. We don't need a lot. Maybe 4. We'll add some color noise too. And then the most important thing. Nope. We'll add some blur. Don't need much. It's fairly big. I think that'll do. And we can scale this up again. First we have to transform it into a smart object again. And now we have to do some maths. So we scaled it back 60%. And we have to increase it by 60%. Math, don't fail me now. So, oh my goodness. Oh, I should have done 50%. We'd be something roughly over 200%. I'm just gonna do some guessing now. Oh, that'll work fine. I guess we don't have accurate scaling anyway. There we go. I mean, look how accurate that is already. I mean, that's probably perfect as it is. Oh, not quite. We have to do this sneaky. We're gonna have to do the sneaky camera raw filter again. That should do it. Put a mask on this. We'll add some feather. Add a bit more feather. Convert this to a smart object. Oh, we gotta scale it again. Now that we need accurate scaling, let's do it properly. Select this. And we'll go edit, transform, scale. And I'm gonna do a 33% 1/3 cut in size. Then I'm gonna go filter, camera raw filter. I'm gonna sharpen this. A lot. And I'm going to add just a hint of grain. And I'm going to convert this to a smart object again. And I'm going to scale this up. Actually, before I do this, I'm going to save this. I'm going to undo my steps until we are right here. And I'm going to paste this back in place. Scale it up to our original scale, which is now going to be 300%. Look at that math. That's mathing right there. Now we have this stacked. You can dial the opacity slightly to make it a bit more authentic. There we go. I mean, all of this kind of pixelated stuff is going to fall away in the end anyway, because we're going to do a complete edit of the photo once it's fully mocked up, so to speak. And we're going to add our own grain and our own texture, which is going to kind of blend everything really nicely. So this is where we're at. Now regarding the actual skewing of this, it does not look very good. So we have to change that. Which might be tough actually. Might actually be tougher than I thought. So if we edit, transform, warp this, it'll be a full screen warp. No, so we can't do that. Yeah. So you gotta convert these to camera raw filter. Sorry, to a smart object, and then take this. And this we can warp, and this will work perfectly. Maybe not that much. Now we kind of have a little bit of a discrepancy. That's fine. No, that warping did not do it justice. Let's try that again. Kind of want to skew the bottom side more, as well as the top side. So we have some consistent warping. That'll do it. And we're gonna need to mask this to the top half. Perfect. Now we're too bright and not vibrant enough. I'm gonna just patch fix this by adding a hue and saturation. I'm gonna colorize it. Be more yellow, more saturated, and darker. Clip this. And now we have a bit of a problem. I'm gonna remove it completely from that sign, but it'll do for now. Next thing, this logo down here, we're gonna have to replace it with our own. Now, what are we gonna do for that? That's a good question. We could put the REZTOKIA logo in there. Creative Ecstasy logo, we can match this, but we can be a bit more creative. So let's design a REZTOKIA Racing Club logo. Let's start with some initials. See if we can work with this. What if we take this Move this and then give this a heavy skewing. Aha. Maybe this other direction. And then we can stretch it out. That is pretty cool. But I think I know something that would make it even cooler. And do a classic racing tactic here. Yes, this will be good. This will be really good. Need to match the angle that we have going on here. And make some clipping masks. You have to trust the process with this. Then we go in here, select this mask, adjust it this way. Just experimenting here. Something like this. And then we can match the angle again. Actually, I'm going to do that on another separate clipping mask. I'm going to take this out. Select this and this. Nope, no, that's still a clipping mask. Okay, there we go. And now we can clip the entire thing to this. Like this. You see what's happening here? Oh yes. Yes, indeed, this is spectacular. I do like that. I must admit, I do like that. What I think might make this even better is if we skew the angles here. So we take this one more aggressive. And then we do the same thing with this one. Right to the edge. Oh, perfect. Yes. Look at that. Question is, do we keep both ours? That is a good question. Let's see. Maybe we take this whole thing and duplicate it. First of all, let's ungroup these. No. Maybe just this 1R. Or we really speed them together like this. I think I like that better. Yep. I'm taking this. This is good. Good for now. We have a bit more of a vertical format though, which might make this a bit problematic. So maybe just 1R. 1R is good. But we need something to fill the negative space. How about a copyright symbol? And we'll take the Times New Roman one. And bold. Scale it to a probably comparatively ridiculous size. See how official that now looks? Wow. I'm gonna expand it though. I want to take this circle and I want to have it bigger. Oh, it's a compound path. Release the compound path. I'm gonna have to clip this back together, and now I can individually target this. Add a thick stroke. That's too thick. Perfect. Perfection. So I'll take this. And there we go. Why is it that size? That's not what we want. Weird. Now we want the same color. This music is kind of getting out of hand. Not the best choice here. There we go. That's much nicer. And now we're operating at full scale. What the heck is going on? Nice and big. I feel like we have to go in there and just thin everything down a bit. So I'm just gonna expand this forever, which I guess doesn't work too well. So I'm just gonna do this quick and dirty. I'll take a screenshot and I'll image trace the screenshot. This is as dirty as it gets. And expand this. We'll replace it with the original. And I'm going to add a white stroke. A white outside stroke. No, inside. I'm going to make it tiny. I just want to trim a hair off of everything except the R. I'm going to save this and save this. And here we are. And now for some reason, this is drifted over here. There we go. Lovely. And now we'll do the same thing again. I mean, it's pretty repetitive at some point, but I guess that's fine. Add a bit of warping to this to match the curve of the car. And I'm gonna scale it down. Add some noise. Add some more noise. Blur. Maybe not scale it quite as much so that we keep the R alive. Convert to smart object, and now I'm going to scale this back up to the desired size. There we go, pretty good, pretty good. Now we're going to add our sharpening to this as well, same thing. Group, mask, feather, convert to smart object. Add a camera raw filter. Actually, no. First, we can scale this down. To 50%. And we're gonna add a camera raw filter. Sharpen it up. Perfect. Back to, nope, first things first. Convert to smart object again. Now 200%. Back to our original. What? Why are we here? Hang on. %. We're still out of frame. Okay, something is weird. I'll just manually line it up. Pretty good, pretty good. There it is. What is even going on? We have our first error. This is fine. That is very weird. Oh, we have 0 opacity. My goodness. There we go. Now we can actually line. Oh my, I was dialing the opacity. I wasn't even lining it up. There we go. That's how we want it to be. Now we can add another blur to this. Yes, there we go. Maybe it's a bit dark. But we can fix that pretty quickly. There we go. Can even push that more than that. You can colorize it. Lovely, perfect. Now to the helmet. Almost done. And I think this in here, we might as well leave it. But on top of here, that's like the perfect place to just put a fat REZTOKIA. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. So let's remove this, and we're gonna take this and we're gonna do some mods, put some stretch and some all caps. Perfect. Now this one is actually a bit more tricky regarding the placement and the warping. So what I prefer to do in these cases is I'm gonna screenshot the original image, paste it into Illustrator. I'm going to dial the opacity here. And now I'm going to actually match this in Illustrator, because it's far easier. So I'm first going to expand this. And I think the best thing to do here is probably to just do a mesh envelope distort and add some more rows. Perfect. Interesting. Trying to think how I would do this best. And most likely, I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to first arch it, and then I'm going to perspective warp it into there. I'm going to make it with a wrap. Get a decent arch on that thing. Just kind of want to match the pre-existing curve. Okay, so let's backtrack a bit. Stretch it slightly. And I'm going to slightly reduce the amount of arching. We're already getting somewhere now. Scale and rotate this till we match roughly. And now we can transform and warp this. Where is my edit and transform object? I think we might have to expand it first. Make it with a mesh, okay. And now we can really go into the weeds here. Okay, so that is definitely going to be tricky. First I'll do some rough adjustments, and then I'm going to match the handles. So that we really follow the curve. What's actually going on here? That looks okay. And this is going to be so blurry and kind of muddled anyway, so I'm not too concerned. But it's supposed to look realistic nonetheless. I guess it's okay. And right here is also not great. Kind of want to match the angle. Yeah, that's better. It's okay where the rounds are, but where the straights are here, gonna have to do a bit of adjustment. There we go. It's a bit dirty. But I think that'll be fine. Let's see, let's test it. I'll duplicate and expand this. And let's paste it in. Where are we at? Fits pretty good. So I'm gonna just do a mask and kind of remove this because we don't really need it. A bit of a softer removal. Perfect. Now it's just extremely blurry. And also it kind of has an... I'll actually just try first just blurring it. That might even be enough. Aggressive blur. And I'm going to do an inner glow. With a huge noise value. Decrease the fill. So we can see what's going on. Opacity. For some reason this is pre-blurring. I mean post-blurring, so might have to decrease the noise. We want to dial it back so that we kind of have the little pockets like this. Then we can play with the fill. Yes, see, that's very good. Dial the whole pass. I mean, look at that. That's practically born there. Maybe even slightly decrease the blur. And then remove the noise entirely from the inner glow. I'm not sure. There, that might do it. Look at that, beautiful. It kind of fades into white. So I'm just going to take my soft round and just kind of fade it out. Take a lower opacity. Yep, perfect. Make it really big. Super low opacity. Yes. Perfection. There we go. Stunning. Maybe not that much. There we go. Working in the low opacity zones here. Looks solid. The REZTOKIA Racing Club definitely needs more blur. Here we go. Let's blur it. That's better. So far, so good. We can either leave the helmet blank or add another thing, or simply add that back. Alternatively, you can add something small. Yeah, that's what I'll do. So we'll add the driver's name, which is obviously going to be me. And I guess we'll add the color after. And let's see what we can do. It's kind of going to be a because it is going to be a bit of an arc. No vertical offsetting. But we do want this to be straight nonetheless. I'm going to display it a bit smaller. On the rim like so. And I think the rest we can do in the shop. No, we definitely have to warp that. Seems decent enough. I want to make this a flashy color. So I propose to use this lovely red. Yes, look at that. That's good. A lot of noise on a color like this. And a lot of blur. Oops. Slightly drop the op. And we'll add a curve layer to get that shadow in there. Is it even affecting it? I guess it is a bit. Let's make that more extreme. Let's take this itself. And we'll add a bit of fading to this. There we go. And that is pretty much it. Now comes the fun part. We merge all of this. And we get to play around with this image. So we can immediately add some global sharpening, noise reduction and color noise reduction, and our own grain. Texture and clarity.